Hey guys, it's Hayes with CheatSheetPros.com. Today is Sunday, April 13th, and we're going to go ahead and do another video. Today we're going to focus on sports betting picks. And so you might see the screenshot that I had sent out. It looks something like this. Typically, I will try to send it through the mailing list on the website, but the first place I post it is in both of our Facebook groups. And then I go to Twitter, and then Reddit, and then the website. But these are the plays that we're going to take a look at today, and we'll see if we stumble across anything else while we are searching around. As always, when you open up the NBA cheat sheet, give it a few seconds so the lineups can auto update. And then if you're looking at props, hitters, DFS, we have all these fun things. But if you're looking for sports betting picks, which is what we are going to focus on today, I start off here at the betting board, I make notes, and then I go over here to the main tab, and we're going to flip through some of the plays that I found. So looking at this, let me shrink this down a little bit so I can make sure you can see everything. So we've got our teams up here. We have our power ranking, bullpen ranking. This is going to tell you if you want to do a game line or a first five line, how they've done the last 10, home road splits, what the Vegas is, what our model is. Now, be careful, our model doesn't have a lot of stats yet, but this will have the advantages. And then we've got, our typical pitchers, and then we've got each of their starts. And then if you keep scrolling over here, we can see how the team offensively has done over the last 6 games. What we're looking at here is just to see how many runs are they scoring. Are they struggling on offense? Are they putting up some runs, etc., etc.? And then the bullpen. I just want to get a quick look at the bullpen over the last 2 weeks. Is it doing well? Is it struggling? Is it a top bullpen? Is it a bullpen that can blow the game? And then over here, we just kind of rank it so it's much easier for you to look and see. If you don't want to look at ERA, xFIP, WHIP, home runs per 9, you can just look at this at like 27th. That is a bad bullpen. This team right here is cold. They're averaging 1.6 runs per game over the last 6. So maybe that's a team that you struggle, or that is going to struggle, that you go up against. So the 15 games we have on the slate today, we're going to flip through here, take a look at it, and make some notes. And then I'm going to flip over to the main tab and show you some of the things that jump out at me. Over here, Toronto, Baltimore. This is the first game that jumped out at me. When we're looking at the power rankings, we have number 5 versus number 21, bullpen number 1 versus 12. There's not a lot of difference between 1 and 12, so I'm not too worried about that. But this tells me Toronto's doing a little bit better, so a game that I want to take a look at. We can also see there's a slight 5% edge on our model for Toronto. And ironically, this line was plus 115 this morning. Now, when we're looking at the pitchers, the main column I start off looking at here is hits per innings pitched. So basically, with everything else aside, as far as walks, runs, all that good stuff, I want to see how many hits are they giving up for each inning that they're in there. And that kind of tells us if the pitcher's doing good or bad. Jose Barrios so far this year only has 3 starts, but he's got a 0.43, which is really good. And then Povich is at 1.74. That is really bad. So Toronto being a little bit better on the power ranking. They have a solid bullpen and a better starting pitcher. That's the first game that we want to take a look at. So we're going to come over here to the main tab. We're going to click inside this home. We're going to flip up and down here. And of course, this first game, Toronto versus Baltimore. So I'm looking at the last 10 games here. I'm looking at both teams. I'm looking at their power rankings. 20 versus 27. They're both about 500, struggling. Baltimore, I'm shocked they're favored at 2.8 runs per game versus 4.2. But it's one, we want to take a look at anyways, because we have a better starting pitcher. Now, when we flip down here, you can look at the teams. If you're doing DFS props, these highlight if they're in the top certain percentile. You can see Baltimore doesn't really have anyone over the last 2 weeks. The top and bottom of the lineup is struggling. They've only got one hitter that's hot. And then also you can look at the ISO versus pitcher hand over here. Now you can see the ISO versus pitcher hand is really good for Baltimore, so that would be alarming for me. But again, it's early in the season. We're just sprinkling a unit on it. We're not going crazy. And then we come down here and I'm going to look at the pitchers. So Povich is a lefty. You can kind of see his splits. There's not a lot of innings. But in these first 2 starts, he's went 10.1 innings pitched. He has 18 hits given up, 7 earned runs. So hopefully Toronto can put some runs up on him. You can see his hits per inning pitched per start down here in the bottom. Jose Barrios, his last 2 starts, really good. 6.2 and 7 innings. He's only given up 4 hits in each and 3 total earned runs, 2 and 1. However, the red flag that you should notice up here on this prior is this column. He just faced Baltimore when he opened the season at home, and he only lasted 5 innings. He did have 5 Ks, but he gave up 9 hits and 6 earned runs, and he walked 2 batters. So you can see here, he got destroyed by Baltimore in the first matchup. So I'm hoping for a revenger. However, Berrios has been a freaking roller coaster his entire career, so take that with a grain of salt. If you're a big believer in past matchups, then maybe you want to go ahead and fade this one. This is not my favorite play of the day, but it is one of the 5 that I'm putting out there. Also, this was at home, and he is on the road today, so it gives him a little bit better environment. So that is the first play we have is Toronto, and they are plus money. 115, I think, is what I got it at. Now we're going to go back over here to the betting board. Game number 2, we have San Francisco. Ironically, they look better than New York, but I'm not one that's going to bet against the Yankees, especially in New York. That just seems silly. But as far as pitchers, they've both done well as far as hits per innings pitched. The one red flag that jumps out at me over here is Rodon's allowed 5 earned runs and 4 earned runs in his last 2 starts. And then Logan Webb has been phenomenal. 7 innings, 1 run, 7 innings, no runs. So I would lean to a San Fran first 5. However, that's not a play that I'm going to put on there because the Yankees are a dangerous team. Coming down here, our second play of the day is going to be Cincinnati over Pittsburgh. You can see here Pittsburgh, not real good in the power ranking. There's a big edge for Cincinnati. Bullpens, if they're within 7, it's fairly close. And you can see on the road, Pittsburgh's 2-7, Cincinnati's 4-4. So this is more of kind of a pillow fight. But I love the starting pitching advantage for Cincinnati. Hunter Green has a 0.32 hits per innings pitched, and his earned run prop's only 1.5. So that's going to point us to a possibly first 5 or a game line, whatever you're wanting to do. So this is definitely a game that we want to take a look at. So let's flip over and look at Pittsburgh and Cincinnati on the main tab. Cincinnati's the home team. We're going to pull them up here. You can see Pittsburgh has not been doing well. 4-6 over the last 10, 3.6 runs per games. They rank 30th in our power rankings. And then Cincinnati only ranks 26th, but you can see they're getting a little bit better. They've won 4 of the last 5. However, these have been close games, so I'd be scared of doing a run line bet here because they've won 5-2, 5-3, 1-0, and 2-0. So very close to that run line, so that could be tricky. However, I think this line was like minus 175, 180, 185. So you either need to pair it with something or look at a first 5. I think I'm going to go first 5 and lay the run line. Also, if you want to pair a prop with it, if you've got DK or FanDuel, I like doing Hunter Green strikeouts, and I'll show you why here in a minute. Flipping down, neither one of these teams look phenomenal. Ellie De La Cruz, if you're putting someone in, he's been the hottest hitter of the bunch. ISO versus pitcher hands, kind of so-so up and down, but again, we don't have a lot of stats. Coming down here, looking at the pitchers, I don't even know how I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, so we're not even going to try it. He's been decent, not great. 4.2 in 5 innings, and he's allowed, 7 hits, 5 hits, 4 runs, 1 runs, 2 walks in each start. So I'd say he's average, little less than average. St. Louis is not very good, so 5 hits and a run is not impressive. Tampa Bay hasn't been that great, so 7 hits and 4 runs and 4.2 innings is a little scary, so I would not trust him. And then you come over here to Hunter Green, and he has been phenomenal. So 4 hits or less in every start, 4.33, and his earned runs has went from 2, 0 to 1. So he's only allowed 3 earned runs so far on the year in about 21 innings, and he doesn't walk batters. He's got 1 in each start. And look at his hits per innings pitched, 0.6, 0.43, 0.43. That's been phenomenal. So he's not giving up hits. He's not walking batters. And his strikeouts, look at this, 7.88. So if you want to do the Cincinnati money line, I would look at like a 6+ alt Ks. I think that's what I found on this when I posted it. Let me look. Let me see. Favorite pick, Cincinnati money line and green 6+ alternate Ks is minus 125. And then the other thing I had posted on there was the strikeout rate. So here we can see he's pretty consistent with his K rate. He's putting up a bunch of strikeouts. Well, you can always come up here and see what the other team's doing right here on their strikeout percentages. So Pittsburgh's 28th in the MLB, 26.2% K rate. That's huge. I mean, that's striking out a ton. And then you can look at home versus road, which it doesn't really change a lot. And then righty versus lefties. It's not a lot of stats there, but that's one when you get deeper into the season you can look into. Pittsburgh's just not a lineup I'm worried about, so he should be able to go several innings. So we do like a Cincinnati play for our second play. Flipping down here, Washington and Miami. I almost did a play on Washington. I didn't even see what the line is. I honestly just ran out of room. On here, I have room for about 5 plays. Once I get there, I pretty much stop. But Cincinnati is one on the list. You can see the bullpen wasn't really good. Edge to Washington. So if you're looking at that, I do like Washington. What I did worry about was they are 1-4 on the road. And then both of these pitchers are pretty solid. They've had pretty decent starts. But I just didn't see a strong edge there. Let's go look at that one real quick, just in case that's a game that you are considering. So here you can see I lean over to Washington. You know, these first 2 games in the series, they played pretty close. Both pitchers, you know, kind of up and down. I would lean to Washington, but I don't want to lay a bunch, and they're going to be probably a -150 favorite. But you can see here, there's no one on Miami that I'm really scared of outside of the leadoff hitter. And then James Wood has been absolute on fire. So I would lean over there. Pitcher-wise, up and down, 0-3, 2 runs, 6 runs, and then no runs. Just a game I decided to stay away from for our card today. Flipping down here, KC Cleveland, I'm going to stay away from this one. Atlanta Tampa. I don't know Joe Boyle. I didn't want to go dig into him. Chris Sale struggled a little bit. He's coming off 5 earned runs, 3 earned runs, and he has an earned run prop of 1.5. But Tampa's not a very strong team, so I just didn't really see an edge there. My favorite play of the day, though, is going to be Detroit. Now, you can see here we have a +12 advantage, and then Vegas has this at 4.4 to 4.1, edge to Minnesota because they're at home. Both teams have a good bullpen. And then you can see Detroit has our custom power rankings 3rd versus 17th. And then over the last 10 games, we have 8-2 versus 3-7. So Detroit is +115 when I bet him today. That's my favorite play. And I do like the pitching advantage here. Casey Mize, even though he's only got 2 starts, has a 0.39 hits per innings pitched. And then 1.22 of Woods Richardson. So that's a game that we want to go take a look at. We're going to flip over here to Minnesota. Over here, we can see Minnesota, you know, they've lost a crap ton of games. They're struggling to score. They're 25th in the power rankings. Detroit, they've been red hot. They took 2 of 3 from the Yankees, which is impressive. They've won the first 2 games of this series, 7-6, 4-0. They swept the White Sox. The White Sox suck. That's not impressive. But we have a big discrepancy here in the power rankings, number 4 versus number 25. So that's one reason I lean there. As far as the hitters, Detroit's been pretty good. This 3-4-5 or 2-3-4 has been pretty hot. And their ISO versus pitcher hand is really good. Minnesota is kind of up and down. You can see over the last 2 weeks, there's only one hitter that's pretty much batting anywhere close to 300. Well, I guess they're 1 guy and 6 guy, but then 2, 3, 4, 5, the strong part of their lineups batting 191, 200, 163, and 214. Not very freaking good. Coming down here looking at the pitchers, I don't mind Simone Woods Richardson. He's been a decent pitcher in the past. He is still, you know, finding his way. He's got 2 starts. It's only combined for 10 innings, but he's given up 13 hits and 6 runs. So, you know, his hits per innings pitched is 129, 125. Pretty consistent. He's going to give up about a hit an inning. But come over here to Casey Mize. In the 2 starts he's had, he's done really well. He's went 6 innings in each, has 6 Ks in each, and only allowed 1 earned run total. Now, his walks, this is alarming. So if you're looking at a hits prop against him, be careful because an earned run prop would probably be a little bit better. At 6 walks in just 12 innings is a little bit scary with his control, but I'm willing to give him a chance here because he has only allowed 4 hit, 1 hit, and 1 total earned run. And you can see here his hits per innings pitched is 0.16, 0.67, but his whip is going to be sky high with 6 walks. So I'm going to lean Detroit. They've got a little edge on the starting pitching. And then what did we put over here for Detroit? Yeah, just plus 115. And you could even do first 5 if you want and then go back after it if they're down. But Detroit plus money I thought was a pretty fair price to go. Flipping down here, skipping all these games, getting down here. Philly and St. Louis. So this comes up as a power play. Now, I don't look at these early in the season because there's not a lot of stats. Bullpens are about the same. But you can see here we have the 7th rated team versus the 28th rated team. So that should jump out at you. The next thing is I want to see, the starting pitchers. Well, Zach Wheeler versus Liberatore, that should jump out at you. Wheeler is much better, but Liberatore is not terrible at 1.14, so that's a game that we want to go look at. So we're going to flip over here to the main. We're going to go to St. Louis because that is our home team. And you can see they've been struggling, 3-7 over the last 10, 2.6 runs per game. Ironically, they're still 6th in the power rankings because they have a low K rate, a high average, a good WRC+. They're just struggling in ISO and getting runs on the board. Philadelphia is kind of all over the place, 3 runs per game, 21st in our power rankings, so not great. But you can see Schwarber's been tearing the cover off the ball. We've got a few decent hitters. St. Louis, Donovan's been doing well. The bottom of the lineup, they've got some guys with a few RBIs. So I don't love it, but I do want to back Wheeler here. And then on this one, what I go with? First 5 innings, and I'm going to lay the run. So first 5 innings was minus 180. But if you lay a half run, you get it down to minus 120, 125. So I'm going to take the chance there. Liberatore in his 2 starts, he's allowed 14 total hits and 8 earned runs. So, my God, Philly should be able to put some runs on the board. And then Wheeler, he's coming off a struggling start on the road against Atlanta where he gave up 8 hits, 5 runs. Yes, that's worrisome. However, in his prior 2 starts, this is more of the pitcher that he is. 3 hits, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 run. Hits per innings pitched, 0.43, 0.33. So Philly should be able to be up a run after 5. So that's the game that I'm going to go with here. If they're not, oh well, we lost a unit. But Zach Wheeler's a much better pitcher. And I would rather back Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Bohm, Schwarber, all of these guys than, anyone down here on the St. Louis side that's struggling. So Philly first 5 is going to be the other one that we went with. And then our 5th game that we had on here was... I looked at this Dodger game because the Cubs are absolutely red hot right now, and Glasnow's been getting tagged a little bit. But I stay away from betting against Yankees and Dodgers until we get into the season. I can get more information, and I didn't like this earned run prop of actually Glasnow over 1.5 would jump out at me. But again, we're not talking about props. Arizona is another one I looked at, but both of these pitchers have a really low hits per innings pitched. Both less than 0.6 is phenomenal. But the other play we went with was San Diego. And let me see, was this run line? So Padres minus 1.5 is minus 105. Yeah, I'm not going to lay a bunch of money on this, but I will do a unit and take the run line. San Diego is the home team, so let's flip over, look at that on the main, and we will wrap this video up and get it out there for you guys. Hopefully you can follow along these videos and see what I'm looking at in the cheat sheet. Then when you have it, you can figure it out. As always, Colorado sucks early in the year, and they suck on the road. So they're 23rd in our power rankings. They're 2-8 over the last 10. They have the highest strikeout rate at 29.3%, and they're averaging 2 runs per game. I mean, look at this. 0, 0, 1, 1. So on the road, in the last 4 games, they've scored 2 runs. Now at home is a different story, but we're not going to look at those games. We're going to look at the road games. So they haven't even scored a run in the series yet. They've lost 8-0 and 2-0. Now, San Diego, they're a much better team. They're 7th in our power rankings. They have a really high average. They're struggling in ISO, so they're not getting a lot of runs on the board. But I'm not really worried about Colorado on the road. And their bullpen's terrible. They're 1-3 with an ERA over 6, xFIP over 4.5. Home runs per 9, 2.5. You can see that's astronomical. And they're walking almost 6 batters per 9 out of the bullpen. So just lay the run. Don't worry about the juice. If San Diego loses or wins this game by 1 run, I will consider it a loss and move on down the road. However, look at these. They've lost by 2, lost by 8, lost by 15, lost by 6, lost by 3, lost by 3, lost by 2, lost by 4. So we can say when Colorado loses, they typically lose by more than 1 run. So minus 1.5 for San Diego is like minus 105, something good for a straight wager. And there's not a lot of stats here, but if you don't like stats or you don't dig into them or love them like I do, just look at WRC+. That's like an encompassing number. 100 would be league average across the board. So over 100 is good, below 100 is bad. So you'll see a lot of teams 70, 80, 85. Those teams are struggling. Now you can see Colorado at home, they're an average team. They've got a WRC+ of 102. On the road, it drops to 42, which is horrible. Their ISO is .082, which means they have zero power on the road and they are struggling. Now, look at the Padres. Now, typically, these teams, they don't have a big home road split. They're over 100, so they're an above average team. And you can see on the road, they're 102, but at home, they jump to 133. So they are, you could say, 30% better at home. And then if you look at righties versus lefties, they're really good versus righties. They're average versus lefties, but not something that jumps out at me. This home 133 versus Colorado road 42 is the main thing I'm going to look at. Also, Colorado, there's no one that you're really scared of in this lineup. And look at this 2-6. They're batting 239, 200, 194, 196, 182. Only one guy has over 5 RBIs. Look at these RBIs the last 2 weeks. Outside of Doyle, 3, 4, 1, 1, 5, 1, 1, 1. Like, are you really worried about that lineup? Jordan Beck, 2 for 14. Martini, 7 for 21. Good. I don't know who these guys are. Hunter Goodman, Chris Bryant struggling. Shocker. No one I'm worried about for Colorado, so roll the dice here. And then over here, we got Tatis, Arez, Machado, Bogarts, Gurriel. Just a much better team. And look at the hits and, look at the stolen bases on here. Over the last 2 weeks, Tatis is batting 350, Arez 308, Machado 333, Bogarts 295. They're doing phenomenal. And then look at their stats. Now, you got to be careful with the batter versus pitcher when it's a Colorado pitcher, because some of these are when it's in Colorado, the weather's warm, and they've got totals of 12 and 13. But still, 17 for 49, batting 347, 4 for 10, that's 400, 3 for 6, 500. So out of 65 at-bats, they're still batting 369 with a low 15% K rate. That's something to take a look at. And we've got some massive ISO numbers versus pitcher hands. So I like Padres here, lay the run. Freeland, his last 2 starts, 17 hits in 13 innings. That's terrible. 8 earned runs. He's not going to shut anyone down. The bullpen's bad behind him. I'm not worried about it. Padres have a really good bullpen, so I'm not really worried about their starting pitcher as long as he's decent. And you can see here 3-0 and 3 earned runs. If he gives up 3 earned runs, that's fine. I'm not that worried about it. If he does get in trouble, like in this game, 3.2 innings, he already had 3 runs. They yanked him out. They've got a solid bullpen that can save the game. This would be a good live bet if Colorado got up, 2 or 3 runs and they pulled Michael King out of the game, because San Diego has a solid bullpen. Colorado struggles on the road, and Colorado has a bad bullpen. So that's something to keep an eye on. I'm typically at kids' sporting events, so I don't have time to post stuff like that. And then King over here, he went 6.2 versus the Athletics, who are actually doing really good, but only gave up 3 runs. And then he had a really good start here where he went 5 innings, 2 hits, no runs. So I would say King's an average pitcher that we can back today. So those are the 5 plays that I am going to go with today. Let me blow this up so you can see it here. Just to wrap up, my favorite play, Tigers plus 115. And then these are all kind of so-so. My second favorite play, I'd probably go the Padres run line. My third one would be Phillies first 5, lay the run. You can get those 3. Those are probably going to be my 3 main bets. And then these other 2, I'm going to go ahead and take a shot here just because the Pirates are so bad. I'm going to back Hunter Green and do one of these alt lines with green Ks just because the K rate for Pittsburgh is so high. And then Toronto, plus money. They should probably be favored in that game. But again, our red flag here, the reason this would fall down to my least favorite game is because Baltimore just shelled Barrios. So they've seen him. They know him. So that does worry me. But if I'm getting plus 115, I only need to win that bet 43 to 45% of the time to be profitable. So that's what I'm going to go with. Anyways, I'm going to get this video out. Good luck, guys, and stay tuned for more videos.